One of the most revealing things in a discovery phase we have with a client is this. It's how sales talks about marketing and how marketing talks about sales. And not what they say about the market or what the numbers look like, how those two functions talk about each other. Because within about 5 minutes, the language tells me pretty much everything. Marketing might say something like, sales doesn't use what we create, and sales says marketing doesn't understand our buyers, or they give us bad leads. And both are right. But here's the thing, neither are actually the problem. And the problem is that there's a gap between them and nobody owns it. Today, I'm going to name what that gap actually costs, why it happens, and what closing it actually requires. Welcome to Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I'm Shelly Hughes. In this show, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a passionate, profitable company. Everything that we talk about comes directly from the challenges I see in our firm every single day. These are successful companies, growing companies, ones who have built something really great, revenue, reputation, a great team. And somewhere between where they started and where they are now, growth got harder. Not because the opportunity isn't there. It's there, they can feel it, but something internal a lot of times is in the way. And no one from the inside of the company has enough altitude really to see it. And that's what the show is built around. Finding what is actually blocking growth, naming it honestly, and figuring out what it takes past it. So if you feel like this is familiar, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Let's talk about what the gap actually looks like. So this isn't two teams not liking each other, right? Sometimes it could be extreme. Sometimes both teams don't like each other. Sometimes the two teams don't even talk to each other. That's the extreme. Most of the time, the people are fine. It's the structure really that's broken. And it's a little bit more delicate than just, oh, they don't talk to each other. Marketing, making content decisions without knowing what buyers are actually asking in real conversations. A lot of times, marketing sales might talk to each other once a month. Even if they talk to each other once a week, marketing doesn't say anything. They're just a fly on the wall. That's where we see a big issue. Sometimes it looks like sales carrying live market intelligence, objections, language, what's changed. And none of it is really reaching marketing systematically. And sometimes there's no agreed upon definition of what a qualified buyer even looks like. Marketing calls it a lead, sales calls it a name, and they mean very different things. And sometimes it looks like marketing measuring impressions, where sales measures calls. And neither is measuring what connects really the two. And so they're not working against each other on purpose, sales and marketing. The system just never really connected them. I've seen this a lot of times I think marketing people are a lot of times very creative. They come from the communications background, right? So they're very creative. For example, we were supporting a fractional CMO client and they were doing some SEO blog writing. And I wasn't in the meeting, but one of our CMOs was just talking about this client and talking about how great the blog topics were, but something got off. We were talking about it and he said, the blog topics are great, but does their ideal customer care about this topic? Does their ideal customer, will they be searching on this on AI where we need an organic hit? Will they be searching for this on Google where we can get an organic hit? Their smaller clients might, but not their ideal ones. I think that is just an example of how marketing and sales really don't talk to each other. There has to be a link between them, whether it's strategy first, which is for sure the way to go, and that has to come from probably upstream a little bit, but on a consistent basis as well. So let's talk about what it's actually costing. The cost, it doesn't show up as one line item, right? So here's where it shows up. It shows up as sales spending the first 20 minutes of every call explaining what the company does. It's a marketing failure eating a lot of the sales time. It could come up and it could look like marketing producing content that assists that sales really doesn't use. Nobody checked what sales actually needs in the real conversation. This came up recently with a client and he said that marketing really doesn't understand how important the sales materials are because there's really no feedback. But so it's even if marketing is doing a great job in supporting sales, it's also that positive affirmation to make sure they keep doing whatever that thing is. So there might either be a disconnect there or there needs to be a positive affirmation to make sure that marketing knows that what they're doing is actually helpful and moving things in the right direction. How this shows up too of how this is costing companies that I see all the time is leadership can't get a clear answer on what's driving results. Sales has one story, marketing probably has another. Marketing is saying, oh, we're getting all this traffic to this website. Yeah, that's wonderful. But what's happening after that? Or How does that relate to, where does that come up in the customer journey? Is it top of funnel and ads and things like that? Awesome. Is it nurturing where it's case studies and things like that? Awesome. But it's making sure that there's a definition of what equals success. And with that, now their team a lot of times can give leadership a clear picture of what's working. They talk about all the wins that they're having, but not how it actually relates to what the company defines as success. The gap between sales and marketing is where a lot of time revenue leaks, and nobody owns the leak, which is the biggest problem here. So why this happens, especially in a lot of times service-based B2B companies, which is who we work with for the most part. In service businesses, sales a lot of times built the company. Founders network, relationships, word of mouth, all that kind of stuff. Marketing came in later. So usually sometimes at that $5 to $10 million mark, when the founders network alone was not enough. But then two separate cultures have a lot of times formed. And this is just our experience with the clients that we see. Sales is a culture that built revenue, and marketing is a newcomer trying to prove its value. And they're almost set up not to trust each other. And especially when marketing is brand new. 2 episodes ago, we talk about the marketing girl trap. And man, is it so true. If you've ever been the marketing girl, I hear you, I see you. If you've hired that marketing girl, go back 2 episodes and let's talk, because there's a lot for me to say about that. But here's what each side thinks when it comes to why this is happening. Sales thinks, if only marketing worked, I wouldn't need to be this busy. Marketing is saying, if sales would only use what we make, then our numbers would be better. Or if sales would only convert better, we're giving them great leads, but they're not converting. So it's a sales issue. Maybe we need some sales coaching. Both are working in the same broken system, just from really different angles. And here's the thing. If the people who said sales and marketing and put sales first were obviously salespeople, because I think a lot of times it's the other way around, and the priority has to be the other way around just to make a cohesive system. But that's another discussion for another day. So here's the thing here. The gap isn't a people problem. It's structural. It's really what it is. It's a structural problem that looks like a people problem. So what closing the gap actually requires? It's not a meeting. It's not an offsite that can fix it. And a new org chart isn't going to fix it either. What's going to help and what's going to align this and fix this problem many times is one agreed upon picture of the best buyer. Not 2 versions of it, just one. And built by sales and marketing together from real data, real conversations. It's a real communication rhythm, not a monthly all hands or a weekly or bi-weekly loop, not sales. It's really sales telling marketing what they're hearing in the field. It's marketing telling sales what they're building and why, and what kind of campaigns they're building and how it's going to support and what they should be seeing. And let's see if that's actually what's happening. So it's giving marketing feedback as well on how these campaigns went. And doing it almost in real time, because especially if you're putting money towards ad dollars, you don't want to wait 6 months before you get some of that feedback so you can change something. A lot of times this is 30 minutes, no agenda, and that's it. What it also will require is one person accountable for the whole commercial system, not just one side of it. From buyer becomes aware to buyer becomes a client. I've talked in the past about the customer journey, and we can get into that more, but basically a sales pipeline flipped on its side and in the perspective of the customer. So this one person who owns this, they can't just be an ops person. They can't just be a marketing person. They really need a whole 360 view of what a revenue scaling system looks like. They don't have to be a hire. It's a structural clarity decision, right? Who owns the full picture? Because someone has to. A lot of times that's where we come in. We come in to help own that full commercial picture. So the fix isn't a meeting. It's really a redesign, but it starts from someone owning that gap. So sales and marketing are really names for one job. You get the right buyer with the right message at the right time through a process that doesn't require the founder or the CEO in the room. When they're separated, there's no shared picture of who the buyer really is. There's no shared language, nobody accountable for the space between them. A lot of times that job doesn't get done. And so it gets attempted twice by 2 teams who don't know what the other found. And so this isn't a sales problem, it's not a marketing problem, but we see it all the time. It's a growth system problem. And it's one of the most expensive ones that I see with our clients because it's invisible until you really go looking for it. You don't have a sales problem and you don't have a marketing problem. You really have that growth system problem that you need someone to own. So I hope this was helpful. If you're feeling like sales and marketing are living on two different planets, definitely send this to someone who you think has a similar problem. If you could hit the follow button, that'd be great. It really just helps get this in the earbuds of more people. So appreciate your time, and I'll see you next time.